More paste, thick, and chunky salsa.
Here. This ain't paste, thick, and chunky salsa.
Well, woo, doggies. Paste is made with big chunks of tomatoes, onions, and peppers.
Perfect for dipping.
By folks in San Antonio.
Who know what salsa should taste like.
Well, this stuff's made in New York City.
New York City?
Jake, it's time you switch brands.
Pick up a thick and chunky one. Pick up the pace.
Meet Modelo, the self-proclaimed superhero of the neighborhood, a title he bestowed upon himself because, well, no one else would. Modelo struts around his suburban kingdom with the confidence of a rooster at dawn, albeit a rooster who's just discovered Red Bull. His ego is as inflated as a hot air balloon, and just as full of hot air. Modelo claims he works in aerospace. Yes, you heard that right, aerospace. This is a man who flips chicken wings for a living, but insists he's involved in designing the next Mars rover. You believe me, right? He asks, eyes wide and earnest, as if daring you to burst his bubble. Most people nod, too bewildered to do anything else, while others walk away muttering about the rising price of aluminum foil hats. Modelo is about 4 feet 8 inches with noodle arms that wouldn't look out of place in a ramen shop, but don't tell him that. He thinks he's the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. At the gym, he makes sure to take selfies flexing every single muscle in his tiny body, though finding those muscles requires a magnifying glass and a lot of imagination. He walks around the place like he owns it, his strut a peculiar mix of a duck and a bodybuilder with an invisible lat syndrome. His house is a fortress of paranoia, bristling with cameras that monitor every conceivable angle. He's got more surveillance than Fort Knox, including 4 cameras on each car facing all directions. He claims it's for security, but really, he just enjoys shining lights on his neighbors' houses for fun. It's his way of saying, I'm watching you, while they wish he'd just watch something else, like paint drying. Modelo's mama bear of a wife, Judas, is a hog farmer by trade and a bodyguard by necessity. She's ready to electrocute anyone who makes fun of her baby cub Modelo. And believe me, a lot of people do. Judas is as fierce as they come, but even she can't protect Modelo from the reality that he's the laughingstock of the neighborhood. His next-door neighbor, Anthony, is a green-eyed monster of envy. Anthony spends his days in a state of perpetual jealousy, wishing he had even half of Modelo's so-called intelligence and good looks. It's a strange world when someone can envy a man who offers to pay debts in old VHS tapes of classic porno movies or Sega Genesis cartridges. Anthony can't decide if he wants to be Modelo or just get him committed. Modelo's inability to grasp humor is legendary. Jokes whoosh over his head with such velocity they might as well be space shuttles, ironic for someone in aerospace. They fly by so fast they give him free haircuts, leaving him scratching his head while everyone else is in stitches. He'll stand there, bewildered, as laughter erupts around him, thinking the wind must be particularly strong today. Then came the day of reckoning. The neighborhood had had enough of Modelo's outlandish claims and antics. It all started at the annual block party, where Modelo, as usual, was regaling a group of newcomers with tales of his top-secret aerospace projects. But this time, someone decided to call his bluff. "Hey, Modelo," shouted Tony, the neighborhood's unofficial leader and professional skeptic, "if you're really in aerospace, why don't you tell us about the latest Mars rover project? You know, details only an insider would know." Modelo's face turned the color of an overripe tomato. His eyes darted around for an escape route, but there was none. The crowd was closing in, their curiosity piqued and their skepticism sharpened. His teeth started chattering like a wind-up toy. "What are you talking about?" he stammered, clearly caught off guard. "Come on, Modelo," Tony pressed. "Everyone knows you work at Chicken Chew. You've never even been near an aerospace facility, have you?" The silence that followed was deafening. Modelo's carefully constructed fantasy world came crashing down around him. The neighbors, previously polite and patient, erupted into laughter. They had suspected for a while, but now the truth was out in the open, and it was hilarious. From that day forward, Modelo became the neighborhood's favorite punchline. His attempts to maintain his facade only made things worse. He'd walk around, shoulders slumped, still trying to flex his non-existent muscles, but now with the added burden of being the butt of every joke. Even Judas, his fierce protector, couldn't shield him from the relentless mockery. She tried to intimidate the neighbors, but even she couldn't stop the tide of ridicule. Modelo's reputation was in tatters, and he knew it. It wasn't long before Modelo decided he couldn't take it anymore. The once proud aerospace engineer packed up his myriad of cameras, his dubious VHS collection, and his tiny weights, and moved away. The neighborhood waved him off with a mix of relief and lingering amusement. As the moving truck disappeared down the street, someone shouted, "Don't forget to send us a postcard from NASA." Modelo's departure left a void that was quickly filled by normalcy and a collective sigh of relief. The neighborhood returned to its usual routines, with one less delusional chicken cook claiming to design spacecraft. And so, Modelo became a cautionary tale, a legend of suburban satire, forever remembered as the man who flew too close to the fryer.